Hi, I'm Lucia from Marathon Mates. Unfortunately, we all know that getting injured sucks. We've all been there before, and we know the frustrations which can occur when you are injured and seeing everyone else having fun with their running. On this episode, we'll talk about returning from injuries. We will share our tips and tricks, our tips and tricks on how to prevent injuries, as well as what to do when you're injured, and so that way you can return to the track as quickly as possible. We are the only podcast with four six-star world major marathon medalists as co-hosts, and this is the Flying Runr Podcast. Are you ready to run? Let's go.
Welcome to the thrilling world of the Flying Runr, brought to you by the Marathon Mates.
Hi everyone, and welcome back. I'm Chief from Marathon Mates, and this is episode 94 of the Flying Runr Podcast. On this episode, we are talking about the thing that every runner hates, being injured. But it happens to all of us at some stage, and so we're going to share our tips and tricks on how to prevent injuries, whilst at the same time talking about the things we've learned which have helped us to come back to the track as quickly as possible post-injury. But before we do any of that, let me introduce my co-hosts tonight. We have Team Ellis, Clara and Tim, and of course Tony. Guys, how was your week and how's your running been? But first, how was park run? I'm going to start with Tony.
There was no park run for me, Lucia, so I'm sort of not doing park runs at the moment. It's sort of that's Saturday's our long run day. So yeah, look, I'm feeling good. Got the mileage in this week. I think I ran 5 separate times during the week, which was really positive for me. So I was due to do an 18, but as a long run, but I did 13, but I ran 3 days in a row. So I think that more or less compensates for that. So it was a good Easter break. Didn't get anywhere near the amount of work done around the home as what I thought I would like to. So good thing we got another long weekend coming where I can once again disappoint myself in not getting the amount of work done that I'd really like to. So, yeah, good weekend. Team Alice, how was yours?
Yeah, good. We did a long run on Friday. So Good Friday, we did 21 Ks together.
21.1.
Oh,
yes.
sorry, 21.1.
Yep.
Ks together. And then we did park run on Saturday, Warner Lakes. Nice and slow. I think it was about 33 minutes. Just took it easy. Sunday, we actually had a rest day. And today we went out and I did 15 and Tim did a 21 again. So just trying to ramp up that mileage because Tim's got Brisbane Marathon coming up. And, yeah, I guess backing it up day to day for Gold Coast Marathon.
Yeah. Does that count as an Easter marathon if I run a half marathon on Good Friday and a half marathon on Easter Monday?
No, they run one time.
Or Tim, was the half marathon you did on Good Friday, was that your pre-half marathon? The one that you
We're not getting started on that, but what I can say is that I'm back, baby. My hammy's feeling good. I've got no pain in it when I ran. Even today, we ran with Patrick, our son, and I left him at 10 Ks and stretched it out for another K or so, K and a half to catch him back on the return leg. And then afterwards, I left him towards the end, and yeah, I was running at full pace and feeling really good and had no pain in the hammy. So it was just a twinge, nothing more than just a twinge. I maintained it, I looked after it, and it's all come good. So yeah, I'm back.
What about you, Lucia?
The plan was to do 21 Ks on Good Friday to make up for, because I was meant to do 21 Ks when it was the Nike event, but since I walked that, I'm like, no, I need to get a 21 in. but I wore the shoes that I know that if I go over a certain distance in these shoes, they just hurt my feet. So I pulled the pin at about 13 Ks. But then I got the 21 Ks done yesterday because I was trialing a strategy that I want to see for Gold Coast half. But I think I may tweak the strategy there. But got it done, felt good. It was starting to warm up right towards the end, but glad I got it done. So yeah, just need to work on some stuff because my objective for Gold Coast is to run a fast half. That's the only one I'm worried about, which is weird. Yeah, between 4 races and the one that I'm worried about is the half. It makes sense.
It sounds like both of you have had some really good preparation coming up for Gold Coast, doing some back-to-backs there. So that's pleasing to see and must be starting to give you some confidence. We're 10 weeks out, I think, from Gold Coast. So
it's scary because I still have people questioning why I'm doing all 4 races. And my response is I'm not the only one doing it. And so why not?
I'm still questioning why I'm doing all 4 races, but I say that about every single race that I go into. It doesn't matter if it's a 5K race, 10K race, half marathon, or full marathon. I still question myself on every single one. So it's okay.
Now, just want to do a shout out to our friend because by the time this episode drops, it will be a few days for London Marathon. So I just want to wish all of our listeners enjoy London, soak up the experience, especially to Mary and Reese. And I also want to do a big shout out to Lisa from my run club. Lisa is an avid listener on the podcast. I saw her last week and she goes, "Oh, are you guys doing a London recap?" I'm like, "Lisa, we just recorded it the day before." So she's a very avid listener. So I just want to wish everyone doing it a blast. Enjoy it. Soak up the atmosphere because when you turn right onto Tower Bridge, there's nothing else like it. And very exciting. Episode 100 is fast approaching. If anyone has any ideas on what we should do for the milestone episode, send it in. So, like for instance, does pre-week actually exist? Like, do you want us to dive more into it?
I won't be there for that discussion. So it doesn't exist, and therefore neither will I.
Tim is now known as the pre-week denier, so that's all right. It's like climate change. It's like anything else. There's always going to be people that mock the science until it becomes established practice. So,
I have people stopping me in the streets telling me that pre-week doesn't exist.
That's only because they're trying to keep on your good side. In secret, those very same people are doing pre-weeks prior to starting their marathon blocks. So, but that's all right.
Okay, whatever you guys say.
I think we need to do a poll on our page. Do people believe in pre-weeks? Because I think that's going to be the only way to end it. Now, Tim, you've got something here on the run sheet which I was still trying to work out. Action figure craze.
Have you not been sticking to social media in the last week or two where every person's done up an action figure of themselves? I know, Tony, you did one.
Yes.
Yes. Lots of people are doing them. So I just was, I put it on there as are you in? Are you out? I know Tony's firmly in. He's done one already.
If I could work out how to do it.
It's actually quite funny because my son got up me for doing it. He says, "You've just given everything to AI or whatever," and I said, "Oh yeah, it's no biggie. What is it? A photo that they can get easily on the internet." He said, "Well, don't come complaining to me when your photo becomes a brand for a Korean dick pic or something." So anyway, all good.
What are you limited to? Are you limited to 3 things inside the action figure packet that you're in, or 4 things?
We won't get into it. There's a lot to it that you've got to ask it to do, but
too much.
It's most of them suggest 3, but I was able to do a couple with 2, and I've seen other people with 4. And for everyone that tunes into our social media, you may want to watch Tim's tip this Tuesday with the I'm just saying there may be some AI generated content there. So.
Not me.
Oh, God. Now, guys, let's get to the time of the week where we talk about news. What's been happening around the world this week?
Thanks, Lucia. The first one I'm going to talk about is a British runner by the name of Matt Clayton, who ran a personal best of 3 hours, 51 and 29 seconds at the Brighton Marathon on April 6th. Now, most of us, after we run a PB, would kick back, would put our feet up, would have a few celebratory drinks, would enjoy the time and really bask in the fact that we set a PB. Not Matt Clayton. He decided that as soon as he finished the marathon, he'd pack his bags and began walking to the next start line, which just happened to be in Paris, France. He walked 191 kilometers over the next 4 days after finishing the marathon. He walked from Brighton to Paris. He averaged about 9 hours a day on his feet, and he arrived on Paris on the night of the 10th, April the 10th, which is 3 days before the start of the marathon. And he then backed it up, ran the Paris Marathon and got another PB. And in that PB, he got 3 hours, 40 minutes and 42 seconds, which is an 11-minute PB, thereabouts, which is just phenomenal. So, and because UK and France aren't connected by land, he crisscrossed the English Channel via the ferry from Newhaven to Dieppe. So in total, with the two marathons plus the 191 kilometres, he travelled 275 kilometres on foot during that time. He raised around £3,200 for charity for doing what he did. But guess how he got back? He decided that he'd come back via an aeroplane rather than walking. So, guys, I know that's pretty phenomenal, but maybe we're doing things the wrong way. What do you reckon? Maybe we need to walk between marathons.
Well, if it's doable, why not? I say. Always up for a good challenge.
Yeah.
But I think even I'd have limits, and I think that would probably be up there with, I don't know if I would have run in between the two marathons.
Yeah, well done. Yeah, well done to Matt, and it's awesome to see fundraising. So, but that's a no from me. I mean, could you imagine Gold Coast to Sydney? I mean,
oh God!
And then could you then imagine Sydney to Amsterdam? It's just not going to happen. But well done, Matt.
Ned Brockman might do it, but anyway, we'll leave it at that. The next bit of news I've got is Elliott Kipchoge, who's talked a little bit about his London training regime. We all know that in the Paris Olympics, he had a bad time over there and didn't perform the way he would have liked. This year, he's aiming for his fifth victory at the London Marathon event after winning the event in 2015, 16, 18 and 19. The week ahead of London Marathon, he's now disclosed some of the training that he's gone into. And he said, I have a well-balanced running program that focuses on speed, endurance and tempo. Well, I'm pretty sure all elite athletes focus on those three things. He's disclosed that he wakes up at 5:30 a.m. I think that's a bit late for him. For us, we wake up earlier than that, but 5:30 a.m. And then he goes out for a morning run with his training mates before the sun rises. He said, every long run is different. The weather, the route we run, and the goal of the day changes every week. So for me, a successful long run is about feeling power in my legs, being able to push hard with my teammates around me, and focusing on the rhythm of my breathing. It's all about putting in good miles to build strength, not sprint to the finish. Strength and core exercises and stretching are needed to maintain a healthy body. I do ice baths and massages. I follow a nutritious diet that strengthens the body, and I have a good fueling strategy during training and races to keep energy levels high. On his rest days, he noted that sleep is one of the top things he will do, but he also engages in other calming activities, including reading books. He said, the body needs its rest, so I go and rest during the day and sleep enough hours. I read books, I have fun, and I have good conversations with my teammates, family, and friends to keep a well-balanced and healthy and happy mind. What I'm hearing there from him is it's all about his teammates. He trains, and we know he trains at in Kenya there with a whole group of teammates. They all pace each other. They all live together. They share the highs and lows through their training program. But what I've listened to there is it's very much a team-orientated aspect. It's very much about eating right. It's about focusing on your training, and then obviously those rest days as well. So I'm pretty sure we do most of those things ourselves, and maybe not as much of the teamwork stuff, but we are out there. So why aren't we winning marathons when we're doing all the same things he's doing? I guess that's the question I've got.
Oh, it's that because they probably spend all day running, whereas unfortunately we have to pay so we can run.
Yeah, and my nutritious diet also consists of wine and beer. So
Yeah, and I reckon there's probably 40 kilograms difference between Elliott and myself. So I think that might have a little bit to do with it. So, but very interesting, Tim. That was good content. Now, I do have to butt in here because during the week we got a press release sent to the Happy Running at flyingrunner.com email address, and it's our very first news release, and I was quite stoked about this, to be honest. So you may remember last week Tim was talking about the charities that run London, and he made a comment that it just about covers every single ailment a person can have. Well, he missed one, and the press release came through, and it's inspired by the Flying Runner. New organisation tackles one of running's most persistent pains, and that's the dreaded twingy hammy, right? So this is a brand new charity organisation. Beating the twingy hammy has launched a bold mission to defeat one of the most nagging and universal afflictions faced by runners, the infamous twingy hammy. Inspired by the legendary podcaster Tim from the Flying Runner, the organisation is putting out a rallying cry to runners across the globe: lace up, step forward, and run for a cause at the 2027 London Marathon. So Sebastian Lordhope, who's the spokesperson for Beating the Twingy Hammy, says the charity is on a mission to fund vital research and promote education into the causes and cures for the hamstring niggles that plague athletes at every level. We are determined to defeat the scourge of the twingy hammy, Lordhope says. Every runner, from the weekend jogger to the elite marathoner, has felt that sharp twinge in the back of the thigh. We're here to change that through better training techniques, AI-driven breakthroughs, and educational outreach. We aim to create a world where no runner is held back by a twingy hammy. So with growing interest in advanced training strategies, including the controversial but promising practices like the pre-week concept, a concept growing with smart runners and coaches, the charity believes now is the time to push forward, break down resistance of training deniers, and champion smarter preparation for runners everywhere. So basically, they're putting out a call for runners to run under their banner for the 2027 London Marathon.
Why not 26, Tony?
I think because of the time, there's an approval process with London.
Okay.
So,
Yeah,
and
you've got your own charity to go for 2027.
I was going to say I'd be quite happy to be the patron of that charity, but I don't agree with everything that the charity is promoting there. So about the pre-weeks.
So they're Beating the Twingy Hammy is now calling for passionate twingy hammy-hating runners to join its charity team for the 2027. Funds raised will go directly towards groundbreaking hamstring research and injury prevention studies, development of educational content and training programs, and advocacy for better runner support and rehab. So if anyone's interested in running, just email us here and we will pass the details on. We do have it's the twingyhammy.org, but last time I checked, their website actually wasn't up. So I don't know what's happening there. So just any person wanting to run the London as a 2027 as that charity. Tim, you've got your own charity. Unbelievable.
I'd love it. As I said, I'd love to be a part of that charity. I just don't agree with the pre-week concept. But happy to be the patron. Happy if it means as a patron I get free entry into the London Marathon every year.
Well, to their credit, Tim, they did call it controversial, right? So they did. So
I can just see the race shirts, the Twingy Hemi Society or charity, and then there's a picture of my hamstring on the front of the shirt.
But we were talking about the rhinos last week, right? So maybe they're going to run with a mannequin's leg on their head or something. So what do you think, Luch?
We do not need more of him.
I've got a question for Tim. So if they want you to be patron, they'll give you free London entries for life, but you have to support the pre-week.
Yes, he'll do that. Yes, he'll do that.
No.
I agree with you, Clara.
No, I will have to leave the charity and forge ahead with another charity. I'm sorry.
How many other charities are going out there to form one just for you? Good Lord.
Not for 3 weeks.
Yeah, so thank you. Thank you, Sebastian. Back to you, Lucia.
Just one last bit. Boston Marathon is about to commence in the next hour or two or three. So unfortunately, we don't have news this week of the runners and the winners, but we'll have that next week along with the London Marathon results as well.
And and this I didn't know about Boston, but Paula Radcliffe is going for her 6th star today.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. She's joining our club.
Yeah, it's taken her a bit longer, so we got there before she did. But I want to do another shout out to Catherine. Catherine,
yes.
You've got this. You've worked hard for it. Can't wait to see you as an official finisher. Because last year, Catherine unfortunately missed the cutoff by about a minute. It wasn't far off, the poor thing. So she was very determined. Even last year, she goes, "I'm coming back."
Yeah.
So.
And Tony, I saw you put up the stats today. Before Boston, how many 6 stars were there in Australia?
515 is the official number at the moment, I think, if I remember rightly. And there's 15. I think there's 1,500 runners in totality going for their 6 star. So. And I would imagine there's probably 30 Australians going for it out of that number. So, 513 is the official number at the moment, 295 males and 218 females. So, so from 386, I'm wishing everyone who's going for their 6 star, both at Boston and London, have a great day. Enjoy it and wear that medal with pride.
Definitely.
And I agree. And did you also notice this week they've announced in Boston and future World Marathon major events that the wall will only contain the 6-star medalists from the previous 12 months. It won't contain all winners on the wall going forward. So it's a shame because if you miss a couple of years and you don't get back to see a major, you may not see your name on the wall at all, which is a bit of a shame.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess, is it over 20,000 people that now have their 6 star? So
100%, yeah.
Logistically getting really tough. That a lot of people are saying they should do it digitally. Can you imagine people just waiting for the digital screen to flick through? So I don't know how they do it. Maybe once they get into this 8 or 9 star, whichever way they go, maybe that's going to be when that starts again. So, I think it's sad because Sharon and I are no longer on the board. So,
fingers crossed they bring it to Sydney and we can at least see it in Sydney.
Yeah, whilst I don't agree with it, I understand why they are doing it. So it's it's a tricky one. Just one quick thing about Sydney Marathon. So it's the next Sydney Marathon Run Club coming up on Sunday, the 27th. So I'll be there sweeping again. So if any of our listeners are there, come up and say hi. So it should be another fun morning at the Sydney Marathon Run Club. All right, guys, let's talk about why we're here. So it's time to talk about injuries. We all get them, and they can really bring you down mentally and physically as well. And also, if you push yourself too hard and return to running before you are ready, it can lead to other injuries occurring, which will then in turn also delay your comeback to running. So what we're going to talk about now is our experiences with running. Tim, I'm going to start with you. You've recently been injured, so earlier this year when you had a fall and fractured your elbow and cracked a rib. So unfortunately, you were forced into a period of about 5 weeks or so in which you weren't able to run. How did that make you feel?
I wish it would happen during running rather than just walking, but it wasn't the best for me. I put up with it. I did it for 5 weeks. The worst thing was it happened in early February, and as most of you listened to and heard, I just started back in the new year. I started to pick up some pace. I was starting to lose some weight. I was getting into the routine of it all, and then I was set back 5 weeks or so. So it did play with me a little bit mentally. It did cause me some cause of concern there. My routines were broken up. I'm used to getting up on a Sunday morning early and going for a run, and that didn't happen. I was missing midweek runs before work. So when I was at work, I wasn't necessarily performing the way I would normally perform at work because I didn't have the endorphins and everything else kicking through the body. And I picked it up. I was doing volunteering work at parkrun and walking parkruns, and I was trying to walk when I could, but walking doesn't give me the same sense of enjoyment as running does. So yeah, mentally I could see if it was longer than 5 weeks, it probably would have been a struggle for me. 5 weeks was okay. I could change my training plan a little bit to suit that. But then, I picked it up straight after I did that, and then overloaded the little body, the body a little bit, had a twingy hamstring as we've just talked about. And it's only this weekend I've really been able to get back into it and have some pretty decent runs under the belt. So it knocks you around a little bit, but at the same time, I wouldn't want to do something that's a 12-month injury recovery and rehab process. I think that would just drive me crazy.
Yeah, no, I completely understand. And Tony, same thing's happened to you, and you've had a couple of injuries in recent times with your calf causing you a few problems a year or so ago. Similar question as to what I asked him. How did that make you feel?
Yeah, with my injury, so I had my ankle injury after Chicago, where I had a displaced or a fracture of the fibula, and then my calf has continually been a source of frustration for me, more so than anything. In terms of what it makes me feel, I think I feel it most when I'm running, because my ankle is never going to be great again. I've always got to work to unlock it, stretch out the tendons, make sure it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. But then it always affects me when I'm running, because I'm waiting for my calves to give me a little note that they're not happy with me, right? So, and that sort of plays on my mind while I'm running. So I can't, my mindset doesn't allow me to just feel good about what I'm doing, because I'm sort of waiting for my calf to say, hang on, you can't feel good about this. I'm going to just give you a little bit of notice that I'm going to give you a bit of a sharp pain or something to think about. So it probably frustrates me more when I'm running, Lucia, to be honest. When the ankle happened, it was frustrating for me. I had to fundamentally, that happened in November, if I remember rightly, and I didn't start running again until January. So it was playing on the back of my mind that we had Tokyo that year in our 6-star. But I guess that didn't really worry me too much, because I just wanted to get back running and I just wanted to play out the rehab as best I could. But it's my calf when I'm running that always tends to, it's like it's ever present, that I'm just waiting for it to sort of just let me know it's still around. And most of the time, I complete a run with no dramas. But yeah, it's just frustrating knowing that it's sitting there in the back of your mind.
No, thanks, Tony. Now, Tara, I know you're big into looking after the body, and you've talked about it a number of times. What are some of the things that you do to ensure you stay fit and strong, and most importantly, and to prevent injuries?
Yeah, so I guess my reason why I do what I do is most of our listeners know that I broke my back, pelvis, and hip about 10 years ago. So returning back from running was a very slow process for me. So my major thing that I always look at is monthly remedial massages. That is one of those things that is a non-negotiable for me. That keeps my body supple and moving the way it needs to. I have a very, very good relationship with my GP and my physio, and also my podiatrist. So all of those people know my body very, very well and know my running style, know what my aim and goals are. So I guess having that team around me when you've got an injury, whether or not it's an old injury or a new injury, is to make sure that you've got what you need at that time to make sure that you can continue. So just because you've got an injury now doesn't mean that you're going to have that forever. Or even if you do have it forever, like I do, you can learn to manage it very, very well. So I do a lot of strength with my training. So that means like Pilates, swimming, bike riding, not just running. I do a lot of extra strength training. Stretching. Stretching is so important. It lengthens those muscles out, keeps them supple, and also after a run, it stops you locking up and becoming, knotted up and becoming problems. I also find that by eating healthy and maintaining a decent weight doesn't mean that you have to be skinny, like, 40 kilos skinny, but by not being too overweight, you're not putting extra weight and stress on your joints, your muscles, and all of that sort of stuff. So just being aware of those sort of things really, really helps. I also like to have a really good 8 hours of sleep every night. Now, I know that that's not always possible for everybody. I am somebody who likes to sleep a lot, and I would probably sleep 20 hours a day if I was allowed to. I'd probably just eat, run, sleep, and that would be it. But really, sleep is so important to that body and that recovery of not just the muscles, but also your mind. And drinking enough water to actually rehydrate your body after a run. So that keeps all of that injuries at bay, I guess, and helps prevent injury as well as helps maintain any injuries you have.
Excellent. Thanks, Sarah. Now, guys, is there anything further that you wanted to add before I start asking some general questions about injuries?
Yeah, the only other thing I would say is the food. Eating healthy is the right way to go. When I was injured and I was out for 5 weeks, I probably put on another 4 kilos in those 5 weeks. I wasn't exercising as much. I wasn't focusing on my diet. I didn't have the same rhythms in my life, but at the same time, I probably lost focus like you would normally have when you're in a training program and you're focused on racing and other things. So it's very easy to put on a few extra kilos, and I have a suspicion that that's why my hamstring was a bit twingy. I put on a few extra kilos, was pushing out a bit of extra distance, and it just twinged up on me. So I think that eating healthy is an important part of it.
Excellent. Thanks. So, guys, I'm just going to ask some general questions on returning from injuries. Now, this first one I've been guilty of. So when you walk off an injury, as opposed to knowing that you have to stop and seek medical help, at what what is that balance? Like, when do you think to yourself, okay, I actually need to go see someone about this? It's like I can't walk it off anymore.
Yeah, look, I'm probably not the right person to answer this because when I did actually break my back, pelvis, and hip, it took me. I had the ambulance come when it happened, and I refused medical treatment and said I was fine. I thought I'd just bruised my back. and had just damaged some muscles, like, just bruised them. It was actually a week later, and I was completely paralyzed on one leg and couldn't move, that I actually sought medical help. So that is not recommended by any means. If you think that you have got an injury that is just bruising or something like that, don't think it's nothing. Actually, really don't just live on painkillers. If you're living on painkillers and you've got painkillers in your system for more than 3 days, and that signs and symptoms are actually just getting worse or not disappearing, please seek medical advice.
Yeah. I think for me, I talk about my twinge, the world famous hamstring twinge, right? Now, why did I not go off and get medical attention to that? Now, for me personally, I know my body. You're blind, just went back. I just, for me, the difference between a twinge and an injury is a day or so after having maybe some Voltaren or some pain relief or even putting some physio cream on it, the pain would disappear a little bit. I'd able to walk on it normally again, and it was largely just a twinge, and I could run on it, albeit it would be a bit sore, but then the pain would go away. I had functionality back into it. When it becomes more of an injury is when that pain doesn't go away, when the functionality doesn't improve back on it within a day or two. That's for me when I know I'm getting tears that are serious enough that I need to go and get medical attention, whether it's a physio or whether it's a doctor. Having a twinge in the hamstring is just like a big cork or a big knot in my hamstring for me, which means, a bit of massage, self-massage, as I said, those creams, those sorts of things, ointments that you put on it a day or two later, I got functionality back into it. But it would then tighten back up again, and then it would go away. Then it would tighten up again. But I wasn't tearing it, and I wasn't hurting it to a point where I couldn't use it. And to me, that's where I tell whether it's something I can manage myself or whether I need to go to my doctor. But no matter what, whenever it would get to a point where it would lock up and I couldn't run anymore because it was so locked up, I would just walk it out. I wouldn't keep running on it. I wouldn't try and do it, because that's when you get the damage, the tears, and the injuries that are going to last weeks and months, as opposed to a twinge which might go away within a week or two, like mine did.
I'm a little bit like Tara, I guess. I'm not a big example here. I'm not a role model on when you should go to the doctor, because when I did my my ankle, it took me 6 weeks or 4 weeks or something to go and get it looked at, go get a scan, go get an x-ray, because it just wasn't getting better. And I guess when I think about my calf that went during last year's Gold Coast marathon, it was, I knew I hadn't torn it. I knew I'd strained it. I'd pushed it to its limit, and I knew that I could complete that race, albeit much slower than what I started that race. So, so when did I finally go and see the medical attention? It was far too late with my ankle. I would have been in a much better state of mind if I'd gone to see them straight away. My ankle was really swollen. I knew I'd done something serious, but just in case you don't know me, I can be a little bit pig-headed, and I thought that it would be all good. Just stay off it and ice it and do everything that you're told to do. And ultimately, it wasn't that good. So if I tore my calf, like I had that real tight tearing pain, I would be exactly like Tim. I'd be straight into a walk, and I'd be no attempt of trying to run through that, because I know that every time I try and run, I'd just be doing more and more damage to it. So, so in other words, don't use me as an example of going to see a doc. Just if it hurts more than what it should, I would be recommending you go see, get some support for it.
So, guys, leading on from that, what's the most difficult part about being sidelined with an injury?
I think your mental state more so than anything else. To me, running or physical exercise. It doesn't even have to be running, but as long as I'm moving, it actually brings out endorphins in your body, and it's sort of like a bit addictive, I guess is the best way to put it. And when you're not moving and you're not exercising, you tend to eat worse. Your mind doesn't seem to function as well. You sort of go, oh, that's okay, I'll just have another piece of cake or something like that. To me, it's my mind. So that's the hardest part about me having an injury. It's not actually the injury itself. It's actually about the fact that I can't physically do what I want to do anymore.
Yeah, as I said before, I think it's all the same things I said before, which are it's mental, it's putting on the extra weight, it's seeing other people out there doing the things you want to be doing and you can't.
I think it's also about how it affects your everyday life as well. So I know when I had to have the boot on with my ankle, that affected what I did at work. So because I work in a manufacturing plant, and every time I had to go into the plant itself, the boot couldn't come with me. So I knew that I had to make allowances within my role, within my how I was driving. So it's not just the mental or the most difficult thing about not running. It's about how do you actually live your life, and that can be really quite challenging. But it's always about looking at that from an aspect of, you know, just knowing that you've just got to do the right thing to get you back as soon as you possibly can.
Now, this one's probably a hard one to answer because there could be so many different variables on this. But how do you know when you're ready to run again?
That is a very tough question. I think for me, what I do is I start out with a walk, just see how I go with that walk to begin with. And when I'm when I'm walking,
I'm not doing anything.
I tend to just sort of go for a little bit of a jog when I'm there, just really, really slow. And if my body is saying, no, bring it back, I just stop and keep walking. And I guess that's my way of doing it. I'm not sure how everyone else does. I guess some people will sit there and say, you know, if they've had surgery or something and they've got 6 weeks of recovery to do it, they'll go on that 6-week mark and then start. But for me, I personally just go by my own body feel and how it feels and why it's doing what it's doing.
Yeah, same. I when I did my elbow and rib earlier in the year, there was a bit of doctor's orders essentially, even though the doctor didn't really give me any guidance in the emergency room as to how long I needed off. But it was, you know, talking to a number of other people, talking to doctors and all the rest of it, it was about 5 to 6 weeks. They said first run back, albeit was a long run, it was still an easy run. And it was about suck it and see. And if I didn't feel right, I would stop and turn around and walk back. And then even this weekend with the hammy, I had an easy week leading into it, but the hammy felt good. There was no pain left in it. And I felt that I was able to go out there and run. And as I said, I've run the equivalent of more than a marathon this weekend with parkrun included. And I've got no pain in the hammy now. So something's right. Again, I didn't go too hard. I've just cruised through it, but it's given me confidence to be able to now step it up.
Yeah, so with my ankle, I waited until I was given the all clear from my physio, and that was quite an exhausting process. If anyone knows Dolph, it was he doesn't let you go back until he's 100% satisfied that you're ready to go. But even so, I took it really easy, I guess, for those first couple of weeks. I made sure that I had braces on my ankle. I normally wear calf socks anyway, so it was just taking it easy and not overdoing it. So I think that was really, really important. When I get a twinge on the calf, or what happened to me at Gold Coast, for example, I know straight away that I'm off running for 2 weeks. So it's just something I do. The calf's not right, I'm not going to run. and then in 2 weeks' time. So even if the calf feels good by the end of that first week, and often it does, if people like me have a lot of issues with their calves, often you'll feel like you can run on it within like 3 or 4 days. I'd purposely stay off it and get that almost like a full 2-week break so that I do have some level of confidence that it's not going to go on me again. So that's how I know when to get back running.
And there is always that fear factor when you start again. Am I going to re-injure myself before I'm ready to run? So obviously, if you feel ready and you're not ready, and you do push it, as Tony said, like, yeah, you feel ready at 3 days, but realistically, it's going to take 2 weeks for that to heal. You have to be realistic with your time frames as well. Just because you feel ready to run, sometimes that's not always the best thing. So you need to really, really listen to the professionals that you go to seek the help from as well, and try and find the sporting professionals, because a lot of people aren't designed or aren't aware of how the runner's body and mind are designed, I guess, is the other thing. So you have to make sure that you get the right person for your actual injury that understands it really, really well for a runner's view.
Now, this next one, I'm going to ask Tim to answer it first because he kind of touched on it, but I really want to get his thoughts just a little bit further. And when you start to run again, what are the first steps you need to take? Do you need to do a pre-week to get back into your plan?
No, you do not need to do a pre-week before you get into your plan. You need to do week 1 of your plan. Week 1 should be an easy week. It should be traveling at a very slow pace, and it should be about listening to your body. And if you get to a point where your body is hurting too much, particularly that injury, you need to stop or slow it back even further, and really listen to your body in that first week. Give yourself the confidence that you can then start to build up in your program. So yes, it is part of your program. It is part of week 1. It's part of the program, but it's an easy getting back into it, getting the legs turning over, making sure everything works the way it does, because trust me, you won't be fit enough anyway to be able to do the pace or the distance that you think you can do. And that's probably the biggest lesson I've learned from it. Even though I've had no issues running the distance that I've done, it's probably my shorter midweek runs that have given me the twingy hammy, where I'm running 5-6 Ks on a Tuesday morning at 5:30 pace, as opposed to the 21 Ks I'm doing at 7-minute pace. So yeah, it's about listening to your body, taking it easy that whole time, and really just easing it back.
Now, Tony, I'm keen to get your thoughts. Are you on the same as Tim? Would you do a pre-week before you come back? Well, once you come back from injury?
I think it's what Tim said made some sense, right? So, and ultimately, when you're coming back from injury, you are pretty, well, I would say going straight back into a training block is probably not the right thing to do. So it could be a 2 to 3 or 4 week sort of rehab process to get you back feeling confident enough. Now Tim's logic is that that's all training, and I get that. So I will give that to him. It's week 1 of a rehab block, right? So
yeah.
It wouldn't necessarily be a pre-week, because that pre-week is about building your base and really starting to plan and set up your training. But it's more about a rehab process. And I think you've just got to be realistic with it. So when you do start to come back, you're coming back slowly and you're doing it so that you're not overdoing it. So I'll give you a really good example. The boss at work did his calf, probably first time he'd ever done it. It was like he'd been shot at the back of the calf, is how he explained it. And I said, "Oh, mate, you've just torn it. Stay off it for 2 weeks. and then start building. Anyway, about 3 days later, he comes to me. He said, "Oh, look, the car's feeling pretty good. I might go for a run." And I said, "Oh, look, it's going to feel good. These calves are tricky little things. I'll let you think that they're pretty good, but once you start running, it won't." He said, "Oh, I'll try and run around the house." So he tried to run around the house. He came back the next day and said, "Yeah, I'm going to stay off it for 2 weeks." So you've just got to understand what it takes to get your body feeling good. So, you can walk, if you can walk, keep moving, keep your mind refreshed. But I no matter where you are in your training block, I wouldn't be going straight back into that training block. I'd be saying, what is it that I need to do just to get some confidence coming back into the mind so that you can then get back into training.
And adjusting your program to fit your needs, not necessarily going, okay, so my training plan says that I have to do 5Ks at 5-minute pace. You can still do your 5Ks, but bring it back to 7-minute pace. It's not a big deal. Time on legs is better than nothing at all. So please, please, please don't feel that you have to go straight back into it, even when you are ready to do it. If you feel that you are better off at a 7-minute pace than a 5-minute pace, do it. Don't push it, and don't let anybody else tell you that you have to go faster.
Well said. And as we've said a number of times, and Tara, I know this is something that Team Ellis preaches quite a lot. It's finish lines, not finish times.
Absolutely. So today's 15Ks for me, I started out running and I was struggling at 7.5-minute pace, which for me is very slow. And I was struggling at that today, probably because I had done my 21Ks on Friday. And I'm just like, I don't need to run this to prove it to anybody. I'm just going to slow it back, and I walked most of it. So I think most of my 15Ks today was at 9-minute pace. So that's fine. I'm okay with that because my body's telling me you don't go any faster, and that's fine. I don't care what anyone else thinks. I'm doing this for me, not for anybody else. And I want to make sure that I'm running for a long time, not a short time.
Exactly. Just the last question, guys, because just conscious of time. How do you know if you're pushing it too hard on the return back from injury?
Pain. So if you get any pain in that injury area, you're pushing it too hard. You need to stop. You need to slow down. You need to stop running and go and seek medical help if need be. At the end of the day, running and your muscles shouldn't be in pain where there's been injuries in the past. They should be, free of those injuries. So that's probably the biggest one if you're pushing it too hard. The other one to be mindful, as I said before, is you're going to lose fitness. You're going to lose endurance. And you're going to be trying to push at the same sort of times you're running at before, same sort of pace times. And you just won't be able to sustain it. And you'll be breathing heavier. Your heart rate will be higher. So it is important to keep an eye on those things and bring it back, build that endurance and that fitness back up over the coming weeks so that you don't go and hurt another muscle or do something else that injures another part of your body. So pain is the indicator there, and obviously just slowing it down and easing your way back into it.
Yeah, and just to back Tim up there, when you're talking about pain, it's not necessarily pain in the injury that you've had, because you may have made a subtle adjustment to your running form and all of a sudden that's creating pain somewhere else in your body. So it really is important just to allow that pain to be the precursor for winding it back down and trying to map through it. I mean, I'm in the habit now, after every one of my long runs, I'll sit down and I will ice both my calves and my ankle and my right foot. And it's just something that I do religiously now, just to make sure that I'm looking after those things that cause me some stress and some trouble. after every single long run. So it annoys Sharon because she likes to get the day up and running, and I'm going to sit down in the couch and I'm going to ice up, and it's sort of my time just to give me some comfort around looking after the injuries that I've had.
Excellent. Well, thanks, guys. So that wraps up our segment on injuries and returning from injuries. Now it's the time of the week that everyone looks forward to. It's where we get the tip from Tim. So, Tim, over to you.
All right. Thanks, Lucia. My tip is about injuries, returning from injuries. I've said it all tonight. I've recently come through this process. And as I said, it's about taking it easy. It's really about listening to your body, listening to your medical advice that you're given, and following that, right? Don't become a Dr. Google. Don't go and try and Google other people's symptoms or other people's injuries and think that that applies to you. Don't try and disregard your doctor's opinions or your medical professional's opinions. Continue to maintain that healthy lifestyle as best you can, and whether that's eating healthy and maintaining your diet, or whether it's even things like a bit of cross training to keep your fitness up and your endurance levels up by riding a bike or doing some rowing or something else. But it really is about looking after yourself and maintaining yourself through that period when you are injured, and making sure that when you do return, you return back fully. So you don't want to come back and then re-injure another part of your body. So yeah, that's my tip. Don't become a Dr. Google. Look after your body during that injury period and return strong.
Excellent. Thanks, Tim. So unfortunately, the episode, it's about to end. But just before we do, Tony, what's on for next week?
Next week, Lucia. So we're talking about the major marathons. Now, we're talking not just about the 6, we're talking about the 7. And we know that it is not a cheap experience to get out there and do all 7 of the world majors. And for a lot of people, the cost is just too much to justify. So what we're looking at next week is doing the 7 and how to do them on the cheap, right? I'm not quite sure how cheap we can get, but we're going to look at the economy or the economics around doing the majors. We'll be looking at ways to save money on airfares, accommodation, as well as saving on race entries and travel itself around the cities. And we'll share some of our knowledge and experiences to help hopefully give you some help in how you can get to the majors. As we keep saying, we're the only podcast with 4 6-star medalists as co-hosts, so we do know a little thing or two about these events and how to get there and how to get value for money. As usual, I've got no doubt, Lucia, it will be another fantastic episode.
No doubt at all. Well, thank you very much for that, Tony. So unfortunately, that does conclude the show for this week. I've really enjoyed the episode and talking about returning from injuries. Hopefully, our listeners have also been able to gain some insight from our chat tonight. I'd like to thank my co-hosts for joining me tonight. Thanks for being here, guys, and for sharing your memories. Hope it's a great week ahead for everyone. Now, guys, we love making these podcasts for you, our listeners. Your feedback means the world to us. So like, comment, message us on Instagram, Facebook, Messenger, or also email us, like our newsflash from Elliott in the episode, at happyrunning@flyingrunr.com. If you have any tips on how to return from injury, please share them with us, or also any ideas on what you'd like to see on episode 100. We would definitely love to hear it. So you can watch this episode on Spotify, YouTube, or listen on Apple, Amazon, and all major podcast platforms. And remember, every step forward is a victory. Lace up, hit the road, and we'll see you next time on the Flying Runr Podcast. Happy running.
Happy running.